This Week with Bob Mueller on News 2.
This week,
we are investigating this matter as an apparent assassination attempt of former President Trump.
A second potential assassination attempt on former President Trump. The suspect is in custody and fired no shots.
There's a lot of rhetoric going on. Right. A lot of people think that the Democrats, when they talk about threat to democracy and all of this,
discounting GOP divisive political rhetoric, the Trump-Vance presidential ticket blames the latest Trump assassination attempt on Democratic rhetoric.
The type of rhetoric that's coming from Democrat leaders and politicians, we really need to tone it down.
Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty also ignores GOP divisive rhetoric and tells Fox News he too blames Democratic rhetoric for the second assassination attempt on Trump.
And my duty was clear. I mean, I had no right to overturn the election.
Former Vice President Mike Pence visits Middle Tennessee and wins praise for ignoring Donald Trump's request to overturn the 2020 election.
And most people are not anti-Semitic, but they don't know it's an issue.
Anti-Semitic incidents rose 125% in Nashville last year. Now, a nonprofit is taking on the problem. More in our This Week cover story. Hello again and welcome to another edition of This Week, a possible second assassination attempt on Trump who blames Democratic rhetoric. Former Vice President Mike Pence tells Tennesseans how he stood up to Trump's request to overturn the 2020 election. But we begin with a new documentary shining light on a group of strangers who quietly crafted their vision for gun rights and safety while a special legislative session ignored the issue.
It was contentious and, at times, chaotic. While lawmakers clashed during the special session on public safety a year ago, a much different scene was happening behind closed doors.
11 people, diverse in their backgrounds, came together to tackle one serious subject.
From pastors to educators, a firearms instructor, a veteran, former law enforcement, community advocates, and a therapist. The Tennessee 11, all with different views, held their own solution session with the builders movement during the legislative session, hoping to find common ground on gun rights and safety. And through some intense moments, they did.
I would say my personal favorite one, and that was to reduce trauma that contribute to violence. By investing in communities. I always tell people that hurt people, and then the opposite of that is true. Healed people can heal people too.
The Tennessee 11 headed to the Capitol to present their solution proposals to lawmakers, including one to develop and promote tools for responsible gun ownership and another to allow the temporary removal of firearms based on risk of violence. A new documentary premiering at the Nashville Film Festival this weekend will showcase the process.
3 days here, dialogue and deliberation.
Also highlighting another important message.
We may not be as divided as we think we are in this country, but we don't talk to each other. There are sometimes you agree to disagree, but you can do that civilly. And then there are times that you may find more agreement than you think you had at first, but it comes from talking with each other honestly.
The hope is to show not only lawmakers, but Tennesseans how working together can be a solution in itself.
Have the honest conversation, practice active listening, and figure out where you can meet in the middle of all of that. If they can just do that, I think we can accomplish so much.
Let's meet in the middle somewhere because we need that.
Reporting in Nashville, I'm Tori Gessner.
In Washington, lawmakers are taking up an issue both sides of the aisle seem to agree on, eliminating taxes on tips. Not only do Republicans and Democrats in Congress agree it needs to happen, but both presidential candidates agree as well. Reporter Vinay Simlot looks at some of the different proposals on the table.
Two presidential candidates from two political parties agree on one idea. The government should keep its hands out of the tip jar.
No tax on tips.
And eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Since the announcements, Republican lawmakers have proposed 3 bills to eliminate taxes on tips. And on Tuesday, a Democrat, Nevada Representative Steve Horsford, introduced a 4th. His proposal has two key differences from the Republican versions. The first, a $112,000 income limit for tax-free tips.
That benefits workers, not the very wealthy or big corporations.
And second, eliminating the $2.13 federal minimum wage for tipped workers. It's a priority for advocates at Horsford's announcement Monday morning.
It'd be nice to not be taxed on tips, but the priority is earning enough to even be able to pay taxes at all.
Former President Donald Trump has accused Vice President Kamala Harris of copying his idea.
She got up, said, no tax on tips. I said, I just said that.
Representative Horsford says the credit doesn't belong to any politician, but neither side has talked about how they would offset the taxes the government collects.
Ask Donald Trump, does he have a pay for his tax cuts to the 1%? Once he gives you an answer, then I'll talk to you about your question.
Tax policy experts estimate exempting tipped income would add up to $150 billion to $250 billion over 10 years. In Washington, I'm Vinay Simlot.
Former Vice President Mike Pence visited Middle Tennessee this week to take part in Constitution Day at Middle Tennessee State University. The vice president did his duty on January the 6th. He followed the law. He certified the 2020 election, ignoring the pleas of his former boss, former President Donald Trump, to undo the will of the people.
I can honestly tell you that I had a deep conviction in that moment that I'd taken that oath that I talked about at the beginning of our time together today. And my duty was clear. I mean, I had no right to overturn the election. In fact, there's almost no idea more un-American than the idea that any one person could choose what electoral votes would be counted. The presidency belongs to the American people, and the American people alone. And I knew that, and I was determined to see it through.
Now to our This Week cover story. It's a disturbing trend playing out here in Tennessee. Anti-Semitic incidents increased 125% last year. This year, neo-Nazis marched through the streets of Nashville multiple times. Now a nonprofit is taking action to stop the hate. Here's News 2's Maya Owens.
Between the usual lanes, cars, and traffic, there's a clear sign, or rather a message.
They make people talk about the issue, which is just so deeply important because, again, most people are not anti-Semitic, but they don't know it's an issue.
The issue in big, bold letters.
So the ones in Nashville say standing against anti-Semitism is standing with America. What we want people to do is notice it. They're pink and white and they're bright. And it's not too much copy, only a few words, to look at it and to start a conversation.
The nonprofit Jubelong put up new billboards this month to highlight what they've been seeing across the U.S., and specifically in Nashville.
So what Jubelong, my organization, decided to do was to shine the light on it and talk about anti-Semitism, because most people are not anti-Semitic, but they don't know that it's a problem. So you have to make people aware before they can solve the issue.
According to the Anti-Defamation League Center, in 2023, Tennessee experienced a 125% increase in anti-Semitic incidents from 2022.
Those numbers are obscenely high. People who are alive today have not seen anti-Semitism this high in America. Anti-Semitism is growing in America.
The billboards come on the heels of Metro City leaders taking legislative action to help cool political tensions. It comes after numerous incidents involving neo-Nazis.
What's important is to really focus on what is happening right there in Nashville and right all across our country, and not try to diminish it.
Metro Council now voting on 4 pieces of public safety legislation, including the creation of a buffer zone around public buildings and parking lots where people wouldn't be able to demonstrate. And those 4 measures have passed on first reading and are up for another vote tomorrow. Even if they pass, there's still one more vote to go before being approved.
Stay with us. This Week continues in a moment.